The year was 1996. On board the research vessel Akademik, treasure hunter Brock had a singular mission: retrieve the legendary heart of the ocean diamond from the sunken wreck of the Oceanic. With the ship resting over 12,500 feet below the ocean surface, the expedition was as daring as it was expensive. Brock's investors demanded results, but all he had found so far was a sense of unease. When the robotic arms of the submersible hauled up a safe from the depths, anticipation buzzed in the air. This was it, this could be the prize. Instead, Brock opened the safe to find not the diamond but a sketch of a woman, naked except for the heart of the ocean, dated April 14, 1912, the night the ship met its tragic fate. News of the discovery spread like wildfire, but Brock's hopes dimmed. The investors wanted a diamond, not a scandalous drawing. Amid mounting pressure, Brock received an unexpected call. An elderly woman named Rose claimed she was the woman in the sketch. At first, Brock thought it was a hoax. Yet, when Rose arrived aboard the ship with her granddaughter, Lizzie, her demeanor, memories, and even the smallest details about the Oceanic convinced him. She was indeed the enigmatic woman who had last worn the diamond. With Rose's arrival, Brock saw a chance to save his mission and his reputation. But when Rose began her tale, no one aboard was prepared for the depth of the story she carried. A tale of love, betrayal, and survival aboard the doomed liner. Rose's story began in April 1912. At just 17 years old, she boarded the Grand Oceanic in Southampton, bound for America with her overbearing mother and her wealthy but cruel fiancé, Cal. To the world, Rose had it all: beauty, wealth, and a future set in stone. Yet inside, she felt trapped. Her engagement to Cal was nothing more than a financial arrangement to save her family's crumbling fortune. Meanwhile, in a game of chance, Jack and his friend Fabrizio won third-class tickets aboard the Oceanic. For Jack, an artist and free spirit, the ship was a promise of adventure and endless possibilities. Little did he know, his journey would intertwine with Rose's in ways he couldn't imagine. Life aboard the Oceanic was a stark contrast between classes. Rose's days were filled with suffocating etiquette and Cal's oppressive attention. One evening, unable to bear it, she found herself at the ship's stern, gazing into the icy waters below. It was there that Jack appeared. When Rose slipped, teetering on the edge of death, Jack's quick reflexes saved her. This chance encounter changed everything. For the first time in years, Rose felt seen, not as a pawn in someone else's game, but as a person. Cal dismissed Jack as a penniless drifter, but Rose saw him as her escape. Jack introduced her to the world of third-class passengers, where laughter and joy were abundant despite the lack of riches. In return, Rose showed Jack the opulence of first-class life. Their bond deepened, and with it, Rose's courage to defy the life her mother and Cal had planned for her. But love aboard the Oceanic came with its challenges, and the icy waters below were not the only threat to their happiness. Rose's world took another turn when Cal presented her with the heart of the ocean, a dazzling blue diamond that hung heavy on her neck, as if symbolizing the weight of her future. That evening, Cal insisted that Jack join them for dinner in the grand dining hall as a gesture of gratitude for saving Rose. The dinner was an elaborate display of wealth and status, with Cal subtly reminding everyone of Jack's humble origins. But Jack, ever the charmer, navigated the situation with grace. When the meal ended, Molly Brown, the outspoken new money passenger who took a liking to Jack, lent him a proper suit and whispered, "Show them you're worth more than gold." After dinner, Rose followed Jack to a spirited third-class party below deck. The laughter, music, and carefree dancing lit a spark in Rose's heart. For the first time, she felt alive. But above deck, Cal's suspicions began to grow. The days aboard the Oceanic were filled with promise and peril. Cal grew more possessive, while Rose found herself drawn to Jack's free-spirited ways. As the ship sped west, reports of icebergs in the area began to reach Captain Edward. Bruce, the White Star Line's managing director, pressured Smith to push the Oceanic to its limits, hoping to make headlines by arriving in New York ahead of schedule. Rose overheard the conversation and expressed her concerns to Jack. "They're gambling with our lives," she said, her voice trembling. Despite the growing tension, Jack and Rose found solace in each other's company, oblivious to the dangers lurking in the frigid waters ahead. One evening, Rose invited Jack to her stateroom. There, she made a bold request. She wanted him to sketch her, wearing nothing but the heart of the ocean. Jack hesitated but eventually agreed, his hands trembling as he captured her on paper. It was a moment of vulnerability and trust, one that solidified their connection. Rose, draped in the blue diamond, felt more powerful and free than she ever had. When the sketch was complete, she placed it in Cal's safe alongside a mocking note. It was her quiet rebellion against a life she no longer wanted. Later that night, Jack and Rose sneaked into the ship's cargo hold, where they shared a stolen moment of passion inside a car. They laughed about their future, dreaming of running away together. But their joy was cut short when the Oceanic struck an iceberg. The ship shuddered violently, and a low rumble filled the air. Jack and Rose rushed to the deck, where chaos was beginning to unfold. Crew members scrambled to assess the damage, while passengers remained blissfully unaware of the looming disaster. Jack and Rose overheard Thomas Andrews, the ship's designer, explaining the severity of the situation. 5 compartments were breached, one more than the ship could withstand. The Oceanic was sinking, and they had less than 2 hours. Rose's heart pounded. "We have to warn my mother," she said. Jack nodded, but he couldn't hide his worry. The icy water was rising fast, and panic was spreading. As they made their way through the crowded corridors, Cal intercepted them. His face twisted in fury when he saw Rose with Jack. To make matters worse, Cal discovered the mocking note and sketch in his safe, and realized the heart of the ocean was missing. Cal framed Jack for stealing the diamond, planting it in his coat pocket. Jack was arrested and handcuffed to a pipe in the ship's lower decks. Rose pleaded with Cal to let him go, but her fiancé's jealousy blinded him. As the lifeboats were being lowered, Cal insisted Rose board one. "You'll be safe with your mother," he said, his voice cold. Rose reluctantly stepped onto the lifeboat, but, as it descended, her heart screamed in protest. She leaped back onto the sinking ship, determined to save Jack. "I'm not leaving without you," she declared, her eyes blazing with resolve. Rose navigated the flooding corridors, searching for Jack. She found him cuffed to the pipe, water rising around his ankles. Using an axe she had grabbed along the way, she freed him. Together, they faced the chaos on deck. The ship was tilting, and lifeboats were running out. Cal, desperate to save himself, pretended to care for a lost child to secure a spot on a lifeboat. Jack and Rose clung to each other as the Oceanic stern rose high into the air. The ship broke apart, and they plunged into the freezing water. Jack found a floating wooden panel and helped Rose onto it, but there was only room for one. As Jack held onto the edge, he whispered, "You're going to live a long life, Rose. Promise me." Tears streamed down her face as she nodded. Hours later, a lifeboat returned to search for survivors. Rose, barely alive, was pulled from the icy waters. Jack was gone, his promise to her the only thing keeping her going. Back on the salvage ship, Rose's vivid storytelling leaves Brock Lovett and his team in awe. The 101-year-old woman's memories paint a gripping picture of love, loss, and survival. Yet, Brock's mind remains fixated on one thing: the heart of the ocean. After Rose concludes her tale, Brock presses her gently. "Do you remember what happened to the diamond?" Rose looks away, her eyes distant. "It was never important to me," she murmurs cryptically, leaving the crew puzzled. But Lizzie, Rose's granddaughter, senses something in her grandmother's tone. She tries to probe further, but Rose changes the subject, requesting a moment of rest. As she retires to her cabin, the team reviews the evidence again, scanning the wreckage footage for any sign of the elusive diamond. That night, Rose dreams of Jack. She sees him standing at the bow of the Oceanic, his arms stretched wide as if embracing the heavens. The vision feels so real that it jolts her awake. She clutches her chest, the weight of memories pressing down. Lizzie finds her sitting on the ship's stern, gazing out at the endless ocean. "Do you regret it?" Lizzie asks softly. Rose smiles faintly. "Not for a moment. Jack taught me what it means to live." Unbeknownst to the crew, one of Brock's investors is growing restless. The expedition has drained funds with no results, and whispers of abandoning the search start to circulate. Brock feels the pressure mounting, but he's not ready to give up. Rose knows more than she's letting on, he tells his second-in-command, Bobby. She has to. That diamond didn't just vanish. Brock decides to approach Rose again, but this time, he's determined to press harder. Rose agrees to another conversation, sensing Brock's desperation. You think the diamond is the treasure, she says. But the real treasure was Jack. Her words strike a chord with Brock, but they don't deter him. If the diamond meant nothing to you, why keep it? Why not leave it behind? Rose hesitates, her hand brushing a delicate chain around her neck. It holds a simple locket, but Brock wonders if it's a clue. The investors give Brock an ultimatum: find the diamond, or they'll pull funding. Brock, torn between his passion for discovery and the mounting pressure, becomes increasingly irritable. Meanwhile, Lizzie grows suspicious of Brock's motives. She warns Rose to be cautious, sensing that the treasure hunter is becoming more obsessed than curious. A sudden storm descends upon the salvage ship, forcing the crew to halt operations. As waves crash against the vessel, Rose sits calmly in her cabin, seemingly unfazed. The ocean has a way of reminding you who's in charge, she says with a wry smile. During the storm, Brock has a revelation. Perhaps the key to finding the diamond lies not in Rose's words but in her actions. He orders his team to analyze every frame of footage from the wreck, hoping for a breakthrough. In one of the sketches recovered from the Oceanic, a small but significant detail catches Brock's eye: a faint engraving on the heart of the ocean's clasp. It's a name: Nathan Hockley. Brock realizes this is Cal's father, the man who insured the diamond. The realization sparks a new theory. Perhaps the diamond never sank with the Oceanic. Brock confronts Rose with his theory. You wore it last, but Cal's father insured it. Did it ever even make it onto the ship? Rose chuckles, amused by his determination. Oh, it was there, she replies. But it didn't belong to Cal, and it certainly doesn't belong to you. Her cryptic words only deepen the mystery, leaving Brock more determined than ever. While reviewing the footage again, the team notices something odd about Cal's safe. A hidden compartment, previously overlooked, comes into focus. Brock orders an immediate dive to recover the safe. As they open it on the ship, hope turns to disappointment: no diamond. However, they find a letter from Cal addressed to his father, hinting at the diamond's fate. The letter reveals that Cal, in a desperate bid to recover his fortune, planned to sell the diamond after the Oceanic docked. But in the chaos of the sinking, it slipped through his fingers, quite literally. The team scours the wreckage again, focusing on the areas mentioned in the letter. Rose observes Brock's desperation with a mix of pity and amusement. She knows the truth about the diamond but wonders if revealing it will bring peace or chaos. Lizzie presses her grandmother. You know where it is, don't you? Rose's silence speaks volumes. One evening, Rose calls Brock to her cabin. In her hands is the heart of the ocean. You've been searching in the wrong place, she says. Brock is stunned. Why didn't you tell us? Rose smiles wistfully. Because it's not yours to find. Rose walks to the ship's stern, clutching the diamond. The crew watches in stunned silence as she tosses it into the ocean. It belongs to the deep, she says, her voice steady. Brock is furious but strangely at peace. Rose's story has changed him. He realizes that his obsession with treasure blinded him to what truly mattered. As the ship returns to port, Rose bids the crew farewell. Her journey is complete, and she feels ready to let go of the past. That night, Rose passes away peacefully in her sleep. In her final dream, she reunites with Jack on the Oceanic's grand staircase. The crew finds her smiling, her journey finally at an end. Brock, now transformed, vows to honor her memory by focusing on stories, not treasures. Rose's life, like the Oceanic, was a tale of love, loss, and resilience. And while the heart of the ocean lies at the bottom of the sea, her story will forever remain in the hearts of those who hear it.
Thank you for being part of this journey. If you found value in this content, please give it a thumbs up, share your thoughts in the comments, and spread the word by sharing with those who matter most to you. Your support means everything.